Today's episode's brought to you by Shaq.
Drop the beat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Noon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast. I am your host, The Blevins. With me, as always, right over there, is Deathblow.
Hey guys, how's it going? Not too much, man. How are you?
I am doing well, and man, we can breathe a sigh of relief this week. Usually, we're like, okay, we got to get right into the content. We got 500,000 things to do. We got 10.
Yeah. Guess how many VODs I watched this week at half speed, really fast, trying to squeeze them in, and like jot notes down really fast, like zero.
A week off in terms of tournaments. We haven't had this in a long time. It feels so good.
I had a great time this week. Thank you so much for. No, obviously we'll still be talking, but
yeah, that's gonna be it, guys.
But yeah, nothing to report as far as tournaments go. Actually, did we look at Apex? Now that
I did. I have.
Might have been
Don't
something.
worry.
Oh, okay.
I got it. Don't worry.
It's weird for me not to be all over these notes. I didn't do anything this week. I really phoning it in.
Well, speaking of not doing anything this week, let's talk about what we did last week. Actually, no, one thing I want to talk about was I believe we were talking about how we got like a huge bump last week, right? Or
we definitely did, yeah. There's
we went
been
up like 20% in terms of subscribers or something like that.
It was a very sizable jump, to say the least. The number fluctuates based on the days, so some days it doesn't look as like it's up, but it's definitely up overall. The exact numbers I can't tell you, but there's definitely been an increase in support and viewership and listenership. And really I credit A. Smith 100% for this, for landing all these excellent interviews, gave us the ability to essentially double the content that we're putting out. So again, at some point we'll forget to thank you, but that's our fault. So thank you. Big thanks to A. Smith. Anybody in the Discord server, you guys can't thank him enough. We won't ever get to give him the proper credit that he deserves, basically, until we could put him on the payroll. But that would be a long ways away, I would think.
It's a long ways away.
Yeah, so really appreciate it. And thanks to all the new people that are tuning in and listening. If you haven't been here for a regular episode, I promise we usually go over the matches and things like that, but there just aren't any this week, as we said. So we're just going to be talking about still plenty of Overwatch League news, as predicted, as the signing period. We're in the month that the signing period closes, so we've got some roster announcements and some general news.
This is good. September, October is going to turn into the ooh, what's going on in the off season?
Right. I'm very excited every time my phone goes off, and I'm only disappointed about half the time now.
Instead of the 90 to 100% of the time. But yeah, huge shout outs to A. Smith. Huge shout outs to all the guests we've been having on, and huge shout outs. I want to say that there's a pretty big bump, at least in terms of the Twitch subscribers in the Twitch chat from last week, to the Flame Cord. So huge shout outs to you guys and anyone who stuck around. But let's.
And a big, sorry to interrupt you, a big shout outs to NKO for the new album art that you're now seeing. If you got this from iTunes, you're definitely seeing it. Love it. Just somebody that found the show and made something way nicer than anything I could make in hours and hours and hours. And I feel like they did it in 5 minutes while listening to the interview or the episode last week. So really, really appreciate it. Looks great. We're just snap using it because it's infinitely better than the one I created a year and a half ago. So big thanks to NKO. Really, really appreciate it. And yeah, we might be actually talking to you soon about another project we're trying to work on, but we'll contact you about that later. Keep an eye open for that.
Yeah. But let's talk about what we actually did last week. I'll start. I got the chance again to guest host on the Payload podcast, so that was fun. We did a super long episode. And I basically just went off on 100 tangents, so it's a very it was very tangenty for their standards, but and I won't spoil the episode if you guys are planning on listening to it. But I get they have we have a shame bell, they have a boo recording. I got booed twice on the episode, so
earned it.
Yeah.
Did you earned those boos. I did. I was in chat on Twitch.
Oh yeah, I was on my laptop, so I didn't have Twitch chat open, unfortunately, because I was like just barely able to even be on the show. But yeah, no, I definitely earned them. So definitely give the Payload podcast a listen this week at least. It's a good show anyway, so I would say go over there and listen to them. But that was me. Death, anything fun and exciting happened for you?
Man, not a ton, to be perfectly honest with you. I've just been trying to clean and hang out, and we did have another tournament match for the Overwatch University League. We're now 1-2 in there, so
got a W.
Yeah, we got a W in there. It definitely wasn't a forfeit or anything. So, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of the beginning rounds, like, right? Like you kind of got to get yourselves leveled out. The brackets kind of even themselves out. So, things are still getting worked out, and we're still a very new team getting used to each other. Yeah. So we're noticing rapid improvement. And honestly, we could see it, right? Like, I think this was a better team than we faced in the first week. And while the score was the same, we felt better, right? Like we didn't feel like we were just going through the motions starting in map 2. Like we were still, very active and very communicative throughout the entire thing, which was nice to see. And we're definitely getting close to where we can start to run the early stages of these tournaments and stack up some wins. So hopefully we can make a little bit of a splash here before the end.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely like to hear from you guys if you guys start making some strides too. But I noticed there's a little a different looking shirt that you got on there, Death. Anything of note there?
Yeah, I got this new shirt. It's a Corndog on my chest here. Yeah, it's my FNRGFE shirt is in, so I am all ready for next week's matchups. Ready for my prediction of FNRGFE over Team Envious to come true. I may or may not have purchased actual corn dogs to make and eat while we watch the match, because I think we decided I'll be there for that match, unless it's on Sunday. Sure hope it's not. No, it can't be, right? It's a first round, right? Because they have the whole playoffs next weekend. Yeah, so we will definitely get to see that and munch on a corn dog while we root on Cool Matt and the gang. Man, that should have been their team name. I feel like Cool Man and the Gang.
That is a great.
It's name. A good one. That's a good one.
Let's keep that one in the bank.
We should write him a letter. Yeah, once we start
we should just start our own team.
Sign him off of an Overwatch league.
Yeah, he'll be obligated. We'll just match his Overwatch leagues.
I've been meaning to ask, can I borrow $20 million for you? I got an idea for next Overwatch league season. No,
yes,
okay,
you can.
All right, great. I'll just plan on that like it's going to happen. But yeah, I got my shirt in, so that's super exciting. Very, very pumped for the match, and this weekend's going to be great.
Yeah, all I'll say is that no one from Envy has ever been on the show, so we're rooting for Corndog. I have 2 Corndog shirts on the way, and I have the link to the hoodie open on my computer right now, and I was yelled at before the show to not buy it yet to actually start the show, so I'm gonna do that.
Waste your money after we're done.
But let's move right along to what did you guys do last week. And Thornrain, man, super fan of the show, regular contributor to the show, has been on fire lately. He's got another article up on highnoonpodcast.com about Overwatch League and like a little bit to the booing, and there's a little bit of booing in esports there, and how you should really set your flag into your team and root for your team and all that good stuff. But I won't spoil too much of the article. Head on over to highnoonpodcast.com. And what tab is it under? Is there an articles? Do we have an articles tab? Or
I think it's just a blog. It might be articles. I'm not 100% sure. It won't be hard to find.
Yeah, go to highnoonpodcast.com. Use your brain and figure out where it is. It's probably
a blog tab. It's a blog tab.
Yeah. It's a law bomb that Bob Lawbaum is lobbing on his law blog. Shout out to anyone who gets that reference. And then also Thornrain guest starred on the Overwatch League Network podcast as well. So I'm a little bit backed up on my podcast, though I'm quickly catching up. So I will definitely give a listen to that. So huge shout out to Thornrain getting in the limelight. But let's move right along to my favorite segment of the show.
Overwatch Today, Meme of the Week.
That, of course, is the meme of the week, and this one got the Deathblow seal of approval. Do you want to talk about this one, Ted?
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, this is a picture of Reaper, and it's got one of his stats next to him. It says 20% lifesteal. Then below that, there's the Overwatch logo, and it says 100% lifesteal because it swallows your entire life in existence. Yep, so yeah, I like that one. True facts. The game itself has lifesteal. It's good to know. It
is a true story and just a good meme. It wasn't not quite a Genji I need healing meme, but
yeah, just way better.
Only objectively. But let's move on. And if I would have had the time, I would have sped up this drop just to make it funny, because there's only one thing to talk about. But I'll just play the regular drop. It's tournament talk. It's tournament talk. We've got one match, so obviously Contenders this is their week off, so to speak. In real life, we just talked to Fraggy from Team Giganti. In future past Overwatch land, you'll hear that interview in 2 days or 1 day. I don't know. You'll hear it eventually. And they're not even in the US yet, but. So this week off for Contenders, so nothing to talk about in Contenders, but we did have one Apex match happen, and that was NC Fox's beat Luxury Watch Red 3-1. And then I believe the only other match left in this second group stage is going to be actually a rematch of GC Busan versus Lunatic High. Notably, GC Busan defeated Lunatic High last time they saw. However, according to the Strafe app, which allows the users to pick teams, it's like betting without money. You just pick teams, kind of just for fun. 71% of people are still picking Lunatic High, even though they just lost. I know last week we talked with Flame about Lunatic High, and he kind of gave us the impression that Lunatic High is like, yeah, we're Overwatch League team. Like, this Apex is like whatever. I feel like unfortunately, that's kind of been the mentality for a lot of these teams, especially the ones that have been picked up by Overwatch League teams already. Like, yeah, I mean, the prize money would be great, but like a big chunk of it's going to the org, and we're already picked up, so we don't need to be like the best ever. So, not gonna go above. They're still gonna try, but they're not gonna go above and beyond the Call of Duty to absolutely try to win this event. So, I don't know. I would probably still pick Lunatic High just blind, even though they just lost, but I could still see, an unsigned up-and-coming team that could potentially get picked up outright for Season 2, really gunning for Lunatic High here.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to lump yourselves in with 71% of other wrong people on your app, then that would be a really good pick. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this one a little bit with Flame. I'm definitely kind of in the same boat here, and it sounded like he was as well. I don't think he expects Lunatic High to take this rematch for the same reason why they lost it in the first place, and they've got bigger fish to fry. They've got other things to worry about and be doing that take away from scrim time. And when you talk about these top tier teams, right, and especially when you talk about like the top tier teams of NA going against Envy, and then the top tier teams of Korea going against the Lunatic Highs and the Kongdoos, is it becomes about that, like the top 1% of plays, right? Where the tiny little, microscopic micro plays that you can make that make a big impact. And those are what kind of make those teams better, right? So when you start taking them off their practice schedule, they start to lose their ability to capitalize on all those things and hit them with as much consistency. So I really do expect, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Lunatic High won. Unlike I would be if Envious won, because they're definitely going to lose. But GC Busan is, my favorite to win this one. I mean, we just saw it. It was like 2 rounds ago, right? That they like 4-0'd them. It wasn't close. So I think it would, or 3-0'd because of the structure of the tournament. Yeah. But I would be very surprised to see Lunatic High rebound here. Not very surprised, but a little surprised. Like I would predict GC Busan, but for the most part, it's going to be pretty close. And, I don't expect it to be a whitewash again. I think Lunatic High obviously they're still doing some practicing, and now they've got this recent experience to develop more of a strategy. But for the time being, I think you just kind of have to expect to get the same result you just got. I don't know. I'm very surprised by that 71% pick rate.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people probably just picked it because they saw a match and they're like, "Oh, Lunatic High, they win everything." But I actually did watch that GC Busan versus Lunatic High before I took some notes on it. But it really seemed like GC Busan did their homework on Lunatic High. Like, that's exactly what it was. They were like, okay, we know what they're going to run on this map. We need to do this, and this, and they did it. And Lunatic High, it just seemed like they got caught with their pants down like multiple times. And like, I can definitely see that happening to a team, but I don't know. Like, it's really going to depend. Like, does Lunatic High be like, okay, well, Overwatch League is what we're working on, or I could see them be like, okay, well, they did this, so we can do this. They're a good enough team, and they have the cohesion and I think so. It boils down to this. I think Lunatic High has the capacity to win this match. It's just whether or not they're going to take the time and energy to actually do what they need to do to win it. I think they can. I don't know if they will. And from what Flame was saying last week, it doesn't seem like they're in too big of a hurry to do that extra work. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw GC Busan take them down again.
Yeah, I mean, it should definitely be a really good match. I think this is a roster that's in Overwatch League, right? So it's got just crazy inherent value already for watching. If you're keeping your eye on the Overwatch League like we are, it's a match you're definitely going to want to see the VODs of either way. And especially if you're kind of wondering what, their weaknesses might be, right? Like, right. There's definitely people out there that are just complete dirtbags when they pick their pro teams they root for, and they just root for, whoever won the Super Bowl that year or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's only for football specifically.
Yeah, but it's just, and like the worst of the worst people do that. But
yeah, it's me.
Yeah, anybody that doesn't know, I'm just taking shots at Blevins. I don't actually mind if that's your strategy.
I'm literally the only person that does that. But it's not like I'm coming out of nowhere and being like, what's worse, being like saying I specifically am a bandwagon fan, or someone being like, oh, well, I've been a Patriots fan forever. You're just noticing it now. And
well, it's worse. It's worse to lie about it for sure.
Right, and they like have the like brand new like tag on their Tom Brady jersey that they bought like 2 weeks ago. Like idiots. Like, even though you're rooting for my favorite team this year, I am upset with you. But yeah, I mean, I could also see like, and we won't talk too much more about this because I wasn't planning on talking about it at all, but I could see Lunatic High specifically not bringing out strategies because they're going to be scouted by the Overwatch League team. So we'll see. I think this is much closer to like a 60-40 in favor of Busan than a 71 in favor of Lunatic High. But let's move right along and
let's break it.
We'll break it down. We actually have a lot of like drama and other types of news to talk about this week.
Well, when they're not playing the game, we've got to talk about something. So yeah,
I mean, we don't have to.
When all this,
we will.
Well, the community has to talk about something,
right.
I should say, rather. So that's when this stuff comes up, right? Whenever there's not games to be played, that's when all the extra stuff comes up. So
true story. So we had the APAC tournament announce their teams. Or at least the majority of their teams. That tournament is going to include Team 1246, Miraculous Youngster, Miracle Team 1, VC Gaming, Envision, Flash Wolves, AHQ Esports, Blank Esports, MVP Space, Africa Freaks. I don't know if they delineated between Blue or another one. I think it was just Africa Freaks. And then 2 additional Apex teams who have not been announced yet. And then the other little caveat here is that it was confirmed via AKM from Rogue that Rogue and Envision were not even invited to this
Rogue and Envy.
Oh, sorry, Rogue and Envy. Sorry, not Envision. Envision is in the event. Rogue and Envy were not invited to the tournament. So, Death, what do you think about this lineup and kind of the news around the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks to me like there's a concerted effort here not to grab teams that are going to wholesale not be paying super close attention to the game at that time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is going to be playing out while the teams are physically moving. Right. So I think there's definitely an effort here to leave out the teams that will definitely be going into Overwatch League because they would just likely have to back out anyways, and then they're going to be like bringing in a replacement mid-event. So why not avoid stuff like that? It makes complete sense to me. As for the lineup, I mean, it's going to be great to see Envision kind of branch out, play against some other teams. I'm fairly certain we've seen VC Gaming around, Flash Wolves, AHQ, Blank, MVP Space, Africa Freaks. These are all teams that I'm used to seeing around, and I'm used to their names, whether I've seen them all to varying degrees because they're not all in the EU and the NA scenes, but nonetheless, I mean, we've seen Blank was in the World Cup, so we're familiar with them from there. So I think it's definitely a solid little tournament here, and I think it's the kind of tournament we're going to see pick up once the league is fully formed and running, and I think this is a really good primer for the sub Overwatch League tournament scene that I think we're likely to see. So I know I'm excited to check it out. I know since I'm going to be glued to this one because it's going to be one of the only active tournaments going on at the time. I'm certainly hoping our boy Hexagrams gets back over there to cast it this time, as I think he did last season. So it would be great to see some familiar faces on the English broadcast over there. But yeah, I don't know. Definitely low-key excited about it.
Yeah, I think so. I was thinking like, oh man, Rogue wasn't invited, so maybe that like you can infer that Rogue got picked up by an Overwatch League team, but they weren't even invited. So that would mean that like the APAC people know who has been signed, but Rogue doesn't. So it's like, I'm not.
That's why I just think they're like inferring it, right? And if they think there's a strong likelihood of most of the players, if not the whole org going, then they just weren't in it.
And it's not that. Basically what I'm saying is I thought it might lead to something, but really it was a non-news. It's basically like they did the same thing that everyone else did. Like, oh, Rogue's probably going to get picked up, so we're not even going to invite them. Because if they say yes, then we're like, well, you're probably going to be an
I'm surprised Rogue wanted to go. Like, it's not like Apex went so spectacularly well.
I don't think they did want to go. I think someone tagged Rogue that's like, no Rogue in this, ? And then they're like, we didn't get invited.
Oh, I thought it was like AKM. I was like, what the heck? We didn't get invited. But I didn't read the tweets because
I read a couple of the tweets. I don't know. So, well, okay. Anyways. So what I'll leave the caveat here of go look at the tweets yourself to see what it actually was. I don't want to put words in people's mouths. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think this will be interesting. I think this will almost be like a primer for the Contenders series, like which I think is like the premier. Which will be the premier non-Overwatch League like series, like the minor leagues, so to speak. But Contenders isn't going to be, or actually I don't know. Do we have confirmation that Contenders is going to be going year round or not, or is it just going to be?
I don't know. I don't think we have confirmation on what the structure of it's going to look like after the conclusion of the playoffs here this weekend. So I think we're going to have to just kind of stay tuned and figure it out. But my impression is that like Contenders and Apex will sit side by side as the two primary feeder tournaments that will lead into Overwatch League signings. And then there will be, they already have the Apex qualifier series, and then they have the open division, playing out here, EU and NA. So the exact structure of it, we don't know. And I honestly, I assume that the developmental stuff is going to change and adapt over time. And that's where you try out different rule sets, maybe too. If they're considering changing something in Overwatch League, they'll do that here, sort of thing. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see exactly how it all plays out. But for the time being, it seems like we've got a decent amount of region mixing, which is nice at these things. And a fairly solid quality of teams here. So I'm pretty excited for it.
Yeah, should be a really good tournament, and I do like that there still are going to be tournament organizers that aren't Blizzard that are still in the space. That it's not like, oh well, Overwatch League is here. Let's throw the towel in, boys, and go start doing Paladins tournaments or something stupid. I mean something really great and probably going to be successful.
No, we're talking about our podcast is centered around a Blizzard game. We can talk all the smack on Paladins we want. We don't have to. We don't have to hide that.
I know. But I feel like me pretending like I wasn't talking smack was actually talking more smack, which is why I did it. But let's move on. So we had a little bit of Contenders news, and we touched briefly on this when we interviewed Fraggy, but Tonic from 123 got visa denied for Contenders, which is awkward and upsetting. The source that I saw did not give any specific reason for the visa denial. But my guess, and again, this is completely just 100% guess, is that the country that he came from just doesn't see the like esports as like a profession. That's what a lot of people in the past, at least, have gotten denied for, is like, oh, you're going to play video games. It does not count as work. You can't get a work visa. Like that's basically what it's been. I don't know if this is the case for
the entire source of this information is a tweet from Tonic that says visa denied. GG, well played, was close. XD. Yeah. So that's
right.
It's all kind of inferences from there, but it's definitely unfortunate as 123 with their matchup against a team. Go ahead and say it correctly, since you know how. Giganti. Yeah, we were taught how to say that correctly. So the over the top affected way of saying it should be out the window, or it'll come back.
It'll be there. It'll just be pronounced correctly now.
Oh, okay. We'll just
over the top correct now.
Right. Okay. But yeah, so definitely unfortunate. I think it definitely kind of boosts the chances here for Giganti in this match, and it's unfortunate because 123 definitely is, kind of that team on the rise coming from season 0. They've played really, really well lately. Slipped a little bit towards the end of the group stages, I think, for their own liking or for their own standards, but nonetheless did enough to make it to the playoffs, and that's all you need to do from there. So, we'll see, though. Even talking to Fraggy, who is their opponent, said, sometimes when you make a sub, if you bring in somebody with a high mechanical skill cap, right, you get this honeymoon period where you're actually better for like a couple of rounds or a day or a week or two or whatever. And so obviously far from over or decided that match as a result of this, but unfortunate because it to my mind, it just takes the opportunity for Tonic to show off his talents and try to make that bid for Overwatch League. As I think 123 is one of those rosters where there's talent there that needs to be picked up, but I don't know that they've been around long enough that I feel confident that they're going to get found and they're going to get signed, and there's enough tape on them for it to happen. So anytime you're taking one of these guys out of the limelight and off the stream, I think is definitely unfortunate.
Yeah, it's I can't even imagine, you've done so well this long. You've got to the Contenders playoffs. It was contested the whole way up. It was not like, oh, well, we knew we were going to get in, or, oh, we didn't plan on getting in. It's who knows what it could have been. They played at their best, and then they got there, and now, getting denied. It just sucks. And, I'm now remembering the tweet thread I saw. He doesn't actually know, or he didn't say the reason. He said that he didn't know the reason. Whether that's true or whether he is just not admitting the reason, I don't know. But it just sucks one way or the other. Whatever the reason is, it stinks, at least from some perspective. So I kind of hope that gets sorted out, although I can't see it happening. But let's just move on from that. It just stinks. But let's move on to something that's a little more uplifting. Even though to High Noon Podcast, this is old news. Thanks to Thornrain for that. But we had the Shanghai Dragons logo and name officially confirmed. And I've got to say that Shanghai Dragons logo is sick. It's so awesome.
I mean, I definitely like it, but when you saw it, did you have any immediate correlations? Like, did you snap to an esport organization's logo and go, "Is that the same thing?" Because I did.
Wait, what do you mean?
It looks like Splice to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. It just
yeah.
looks like the Splice logo.
It looks a lot like Splice, because Splice is the same thing except it's a snake.
Yeah.
But Splice is in an Overwatch league, so it sucks to suck, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. But so I definitely kind of had that initial reaction to it, where it just looks so much like Splice to me. But nonetheless,
but the Splice logo is also awesome.
Yes, yeah. That's not to say there's anything wrong with the Splice logo. Definitely do like it, but yeah, it's a, we liked it when we first found out that they were applying for it. So it's good to see. I mean, this is still, even though we kind of knew it was going to happen, right? Like we talked about and reported on the application for the trademark, right? But clearly they've got it now. It was accepted, and it's through. So it's definitely great to see. And like you said, it looks like there's an in-game May skin that we'll get to buy. So we're starting to see some of these in-game Overwatch League team-specific items that we're going to be able to pick up. This one is not, I don't know. I want to see, part of me wants to see a bit more of a team theme to them, right? Like, it's like a tiny little logo. Like if you just like put your thumb over it, it just looks like a recolor of a May skin that already exists. So yeah, I don't know.
So I think that is exactly what it is. And I kind of want, so this is my vision for how I want the Overwatch League skins to be. I want there to be just plain old recolors like that as the rares in the boxes, or as the commons or whatever. I don't know how, maybe you change the rarities up, but just for the sake of this, have the normal skins just be recolors with the logo, with the team colors and the logo on them for everyone. I don't want there to just be I don't want the only Shanghai Dragon skin to be this May one. Like I want to be able to get a Winston one, a Genji one, a Tracer one. I want to be able to get any character in my team's color and skin. And then have like only one legendary one. Like have the legendary one for the Shanghai Dragons be Genji, and have him do an awesome like Shanghai Dragon ult, like, and have him say something like "Go Shanghai" or something like awesome like that. Like have the legendary be something that's one of, but like I don't want it to be like, oh well, there's only one, you can buy this one Shanghai Dragons May recolor for $5.99 to support the team. It's like that is the lamest thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, I'll buy it, but I won't be happy about it.
Right, I'm gonna buy whatever one I want for the team I'm supporting. Yes, I'm going to get it, but I'm not gonna be happy about a recolor. Like let us do either, like I'm fine with pay $10 for this legendary Shanghai Dragon skin. I'm fine with that. That supports the team. But if they're only doing recolors, so if they're not doing legendaries at all, which I'd be upset about, but I wouldn't be surprised. If they're only doing recolors, have every character have a recolor for every team. That's what I'm asking. And have like it, you can do it where you can buy the Cloud9, or obviously it's not going to be Cloud9, but buy the San Francisco NRG team or San Francisco Overwatch team pack for $20 and get the jersey for everyone in the game. Or I'm fine with it be like buy an Overwatch League box where the profits for all the boxes get split across all the teams, which I wouldn't be surprised if they do. And then some are reskins or recolors for different teams, and then you could get legendaries that are the like super one for, Shanghai or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I believe they've outright said that any money spent on in-game purchases will benefit all teams equally, right? So even if you go ahead and buy the Shanghai Dragons pack, you'll still be kind of feeding everyone. So I don't know. There's a lot of ways they can do it. So far, it's nice to just see one. And like you said, I'll just hope that that's not the ultimate Shanghai Dragons in-game skin. Yeah. But also the thing we need to remember too is that they might be for season 1, right? Like we might not get crazy skins for season 1 because they've got to have room to like have a season 2 loot box or something like that. Right. So we might need. I mean, they might not set the bar crazy high. Mm-hmm. For example, I think it would be cool if maybe there was no legendary skin for the first season until there's a season 1 champion, and then they get the first legendary skin.
I like that.
Yeah, so stuff like that, like this. So we've got to be careful here because it's like not a super exciting skin to see, I don't think, when you look at it. But there's a lot of factors at play here, right? They need to be able to think forward about it and things like that. So we just kind of got to trust in the process, right? Like this isn't anything we've experienced before. So as much as we love to and encourage wild overreactions and hyper speculations, we've got to be a little careful of like holding Blizzard accountable for things that probably make complete sense, but we just don't know the whole plan yet or the whole story. Yeah. So
I just like if they're going to do recolors as their like MO for Overwatch League stuff, just let me get a recolor for every character. Like I don't want it to just be Mei. But I'll pick that to piece. I mean, I could go off on a whole tangent about how Blizzard's items are done just so badly, but I'm not going to right now. Let's move on. We had a big roster announcement here, and a roster announcement and also like a sponsorship announcement, which is kind of cool, from NRG, aka the San Francisco team. Link to the video is going to be in the show notes. It features obviously one of my favorite people in the world of all time, Shaquille O'Neal, who is one of the owners of NRG, talking about the roster reveal. It also features Jennifer Lopez, Marshawn Lynch, and Michael Strahan, which he alluded to it in the video, but it has also been confirmed outside that they are also investors in NRG and the Overwatch League team. So big stuff just from the org perspective. You've got Shaq, J-Lo, Marshawn Lynch, and Michael Strahan investing, and the roster has been announced, and I don't have it in front of me. Do you have the list in front of you, D3ath? Let's see. I know we've got IDDQD. We've got Sinatra, which we already knew. We've got Super. We've got Baby Bay. We've got nope. See, that's.
I'll just start it from the top here. So we've got IDDQD on DPS. We've got Baby Bay on Flex DPS. We've got Dante on Flex DPS. We've got Nomi on tank. We've got Dak or Dahak, or I've never gotten confirmation on what the correct way to say that is. We've got him on support. We've got Sleepy on support. We've got Sinatra on DPS, and we've got Super listed as Flex here. And I'm getting the roles and the positions from their Liquipedia page. I'm not, so I'm just kind of giving you what they've been penciled in as, and I think we're just about to start talking about kind of how this roster fits together, how everything meshes, and so I mean, straight away, the first thing to mention is like there's a lot of name recognition here. Like there's a lot of big name players. Obviously Sinatra is a huge one when we've known about that one, but Baby Bay, IDDQD, and Super really kind of round out. Nobody on the list here is a complete surprise. I think there's only one that's a kind of surprise, and that being Sleepy. So everybody's really solid here. It's definitely a strong team, but I don't know about you, Blevins. The more I look at it, the weirder it gets. But the initial shock value is like, what an awesome team. And then you're like, but but wait a minute, what are they gonna like? Two of these guys are 17.
Yeah, Super and Sinatra both can't play till like March or something.
Yeah, and we've got a March 18th and a March 28th birthdays for these guys. So until those days, those guys can't play. So when you look at this roster now, so when we take them away, what we're looking at is IDDQD, Baby Bay, Dante, Nomi, Dahak, Sleepy, and that's it. So that is your exact 6. So there's no flexibility here. So in the current state, those are the 6 people that will be coming out for 3 months under the NRG and the whatever the future brand will be here. But under that logo and for San Francisco, those are the 6 that'll be out there. That's only one tank. Super is definitely a tank. And one thing, too, to mention about the tanks is Nomi is a main tank. He is a Reinhardt Winston player. Super is a Reinhardt Winston player. So we already don't have an off tank, okay? Now, when you look at it and you look at the video and you watch the video, they put Super on, he's playing Roadhog in his little clip.
Yeah.
So I think, and he's listed here on Flex, so I think it's safe to say he'll be the one handling the Flex tank. So I don't think there's any major panic modes or anything like that. Now, there's also some flexibility there, right? Because we've seen Sinatraa play Zarya, and there's bound to be like hidden heroes in these players' hero pools, but we don't know all of those, so we can't go by the hidden ones that we don't know. We can just go by the ones that are out there a little bit and that we've seen. So right now, at least for the first 3 months or however long it is, we're going to be at a single tank. Also, can you point out the projectile DPS player on this team for me, please, Blevins?
No.
Okay, I can't either. It's really, really difficult. And again, all we can go on here is the video. We did see Baby Bay playing Genji in the video. So I think now, despite the fact that usually we've seen him on Soldier, and that's what I think he's most known for in the scene, clearly
spot over IDDQD.
Yeah, I don't think he's taking not projectile, but hit scan DPS away from IDDQD or Sinatraa. I think those two are clearly going to be ahead of him in the hit scan category. And also Dante's best known for Tracer. So there's not anybody here that like natively or by default is a really strong Genji. Like if they want to run Pharah, because Mercy's really powerful. I don't know if anybody's heard. Let's say they wanted to run Pharah. Like, I don't know who would do that for this squad. So it's not that they can't do it. It's that I don't know how they're going to pull it off, right? Well, and especially without the flexibility of the two young guns at the beginning, I think we might be in for a rough couple months at the beginning of the Overwatch League for San Francisco. But with that said, even if that's true, like even if they've gone through till the second birthday of the two, I can't remember who turns 18 later. Once they finally become full speed, if they still haven't won a game, I won't think this was necessarily a bad strategy to like lock up the young players and get them going and get them signed so that way you can unveil them later. Like even if they just tank this whole season and don't do anything because they didn't have these two, I think it's fine, right? Like they're 1-year contracts, but they have the option to extend for a second year. And if the players are comfortable and they like where they are, they're going to stay, right? Like until there's somebody's going to have to test the free agent waters first. And I think that after the first season, we're going to see very little of that, but 1 or 2 big ones. That's going to make people think, well, maybe the best thing I can do is to just not sign here and then test the free agent pool. But until that gets figured out and until that happens, I think there might be some hesitancy to that. People you'll want to see somebody get that big free agent contract, right? Like now all of a sudden, I think I'm better than them, but they're making more money than me. But that's not okay. Like I need a new team. I need somebody that'll pay me what I'm worth.
Right.
And that's what the kind of thing you see in the NFL, and that's why the rosters are so volatile, because the salary cap and everything like that has really forced and pushed everything towards the free agency. Like it's almost like an era in football right now. It's where people just change teams like crazy because free agency is so big. Didn't always used to be that way, and it takes time for you to get there. So I think we'll get there eventually. But
yeah, I think. Go ahead. Yeah, no, I think we'll definitely see that eventually. And I also think, like, for better or for worse, this was an org move more than a team move, if that makes sense. Like, you're going to sell your IDDQD, your Sinatraa, I'm imagining those two will probably be the most popular jerseys for them, at least. You're going to sell the jerseys. You're going to fill the seats in the first season, like, for the players you have, not because you won the first championship. I'm guessing the first few seasons are going to be like that, because you're only going to be having, like, the first season is going to be mostly existing esports fans who are going to, like, who know who Sinatraa and IDDQD and Baby Bay and all them are from previous. Like, you're not going, like right now, no one that is an Overwatch esports fan right now is going to be like, oh, well, I'm not going to pick a team until a team wins the championship, right? Like that, you're not going to do that. It's not like the New York Yankees where, like, people across the country like the Yankees because they're a dynasty and they respect the organization because they've been around for 100 years. It's like, this is the first year of the org. It's the first year of the team and the first year of the org. So you have to build the org out and build out the fan base for different reasons that aren't necessarily the team winning every match they win. Like, I think there absolutely are going to be teams in season 1, probably up until like season 2, 3, and 4, as late as that, where, like, you're not, like, is going to be the most popular team and it is probably not going to be the best team. Like, that is going to be the case, at least for a little bit.
And
And you're going to make money off of that more than off of winning like Overwatch League Season 1.
Right. And it's going to be interesting too. I'm very excited to see, and we're already starting to see it, right? Because we were pretty sure, and I don't think this is announced, but just thought to be true, and that like Luxury Watch Blue is going to be probably going to New York. And so you kind of have like those teams that seem to really want that first title, right? Like they're no, give me the team that's best right now.
Just give me a plug and play team that I can win with now.
Right. Like it's like, Scott over in New York, he wants it to be the bare hands trophy that gets handed out to the thing, right? So like he's got to win the first 3, right? He's got to repeat and be Lombardi of the Overwatch League to get the trophy named after him. So it's going to be great to see, and it's really compelling, I think. And neither of them are wrong, right? Like nobody's wrong in doing this. Like, of course, it would be great to be the first champion, right? Like that's going to be really helpful to building your franchise. Like success breeds success.
Right.
So paying attention to the first season is important, but at the same time, you have this opportunity to grab players that are wildly popular like Sinatra, and even though they have this downside to them for that first year, you can't even use them for a little while. Like it's still, you're developing and you're building better, and that's what this looks like to me. And the last thing I want to talk about this roster is something I can't talk about until we talk about something else that we're going to be talking about soon.
Okay.
So I'm just going to bring that up.
Yeah, let's just jump into it.
OverwatchScore.com did an interview with Huck from Boston, and in that interview there was a question about the roster sizes, how we've asked, and Huck had already said, I think earlier in that interview or in a different public appearance or something, he had said that he anticipates like 8 to 10 people on the roster, and he was asked why not 12. Well, you're allowed 12, why not 12? And he outright said that there is a salary cap. Now, if you go to OverwatchScore.com right now and go to the article and read it, you won't see it there. To clarify, you have to go to the web cached version of it on Google to get the original response. So it's been edited, which leads us to believe Blizzard has asked it to be edited.
Right.
So
that I do know. I did reach out to OverwatchScore.com. I know some of the people over there, and it was edited by Blizzard. So
we can't call this confirmed because
what exactly does that mean?
So we don't know, but what I think because there's 2 reasons why they would ask for it to be removed. A, it's not true.
It's not true, which is a weird response because if that's the case,
right? You
like,
just
why
like
would
let
he
it
say
go.
that?
Why would Huck say?
Oh, there's a roster cap.
I really don't think it's false. And what that means is they haven't announced it yet, and they want to control how it gets out there.
It's
but
probably going to be in the BlizzCon package of stuff that gets announced, I'm assuming.
Right.
So it's kind of juicy, right?
But for the time being, it's out there, right? Like, I mean, we know I have to assume this is true and then work that into what I'm seeing with the NRG roster, which really makes me think it's true. And the one person on this roster that you guys might have gone like, who is Sleepy? And he holds the flex support role. He's somebody that has been, he's been around. He's not a complete unknown. He's been on a couple, I think he's done some filling for people too. And I'm blanking on the team that he's been on, though I'm getting it up here now. Tempo Storm. He was on the NA Tempo Storm team.
Right. Old school.
So, yeah, he's a very solid Zenyatta player. I'm assuming his Anna's up to snuff. But, he's the guy here that, like, nothing against him. It just he doesn't fit, right? Like he's the one that's
star-studded as the others.
Right. Like he doesn't have that same name recognition. And I think this is clear evidence that we have a salary cap because they clearly made the decision that, they could get this lesser known. It's like we've talked in the past about would Jesus be a viable DPS player for an Overwatch League roster? And we said, yeah, like he's a budget DPS player. Like you can sign him so much cheaper then you can't, like, you can probably sign him for like half the price of a Sinatra, right? To play your tracer for you. But you're not getting 50% of the tracer production from him. Like he's better than half of a Sinatra at tracer. So he becomes a value. And I think that's what we're seeing here. But at the same time, especially a roster that doesn't have an off tank to peel for him, doesn't have a projectile DPS player. Like this team says to me that these guys are like, they're fraggers, right? Like they're going to play a lot like a pug team at the beginning. Granted, the best pug team you've ever seen in your life, but like they're not going to be, when we talk about what makes Envy so good, it's the minor, the positionings, the capitalizing on little mistakes. That's something NRG might not be able to do with this roster, and we'll have to wait and see. Because we don't, Sleepy could be way better than we know, right? That's the thing about these guys that are a bit on the unknown side is they're unknown, right? We have to, and we just kind of by default assume they're unknown because they're bad, but there's just about no way that's true. He's not going to be bad, but I worry about team synergy, and I worry about just him maybe needing to get brought up a little bit. And as somebody that I promise you, you're often targeted on Zenyatta when you play him in 6-stack environment and in scrims and things like that. I can only assume, and from watching tournaments, you see it too. He's going to have a target on his back, right? Like for the squishiest character in the game, to be perceived as your weakest character on your roster, I think is potentially dangerous, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something we need to figure out, and we need to see it play out. So really exciting. I always love seeing, he's a US player. So we obviously like that, and he's not completely unknown, so it's not super risky, but I definitely think he's a step down from kind of the rest of the group. Dak was one. I really like his selection. He's got experience with Sinatra. They've played together on some teams before. So that'll be nice to keep some synergy there. But so if you're picking San Francisco for your Overwatch team, don't be freaking out after March 11th when your team's at the bottom of the standings.
Right.
Because I think it's almost like inevitable right now that, of course, Baby Bay might be a way better Genji than I've ever seen and have no way to know that he's going to be. Sleepy could have just leveled up tremendously since his Tempo Storm days and be right up there with the Bonnies and the Boombox and the newer guys that have kind of come out into the scene. We really don't know, but until we see that, I think we have to assume that this roster might be in for a little bit of a rough patch at the beginning.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with like some of these players, Sleepy specifically. Maybe even, I think the non-IDDQD, not IDDQD, not Sinatra, and I have to imagine that Super probably got a pretty decent contract too, because he's just crushed it with LG Evil and formerly Hammers. Like the other guys on the team are all good. Obviously, they've been in the scene, but they're not the like superstar level that the Sinatra and the IDQD have been. So they're probably more of a team build and less of an org build. So like they probably like if you're like, oh well, if you're in negotiations with NRG, for instance, and you're like, well, I'm a better player, or I'm just as good of a player, Sinatra, how come I'm not getting as much? It's like, well, Sinatra's got 18 billion Twitter followers and everyone knows who he is, and he's 17. He's the superstar. Like maybe when Kobe Bryant was 18 in the NBA, there might have been players who were 30 that were better than him in the league, but were they getting paid as much? Probably not. Because Kobe Bryant was the superstar. Like, he's the franchise player, whereas there are good, solid players that don't make nearly as much as these superstar players, but they're going to help the team. So it's interesting. It's all we have right now, so we have to put all of our focus on it. But I think even if that weren't the case, this roster would have an asterisk next to it, because we want to see what the heck are they going to do about what they have so far. So
yeah, an asterisk and a question mark next to it. And for all the things, it sounds like I'm not very big on the San Francisco team. I feel like when you have a conversation with me, I don't want to get it twisted. I'm very excited to watch this roster play. I'm not confident in the roster as it will premiere at the beginning, but I think definitely once they add in Super and Sinatra, things will get way better for them. They'll have way more flexibility. Once we learn how substitutes can work and how, once we have some idea how that's going to all tie into the actual gameplay on a week-to-week basis, we'll be able to make some better inferences here. But I think there's some hidden characters on these hero pools that make it hard to judge. And but just generally speaking, I think they're going to be super fun to watch play. Though I just don't know they're gonna jump out to a fast start and set the league on fire. I sure hope I'm wrong though, right? How cool would that be, right? The team that just kind of cobbled together this roster that had like five hit scan players on it and no projectile and no off tank. And if they just go on a tear because, you know, their recruitment process was good enough to find those hidden heroes and to find what they can do that the public didn't know about. I think that's really exciting. And that's really, I don't know. I'm just pumped to have a full roster, right? Like, and it's not even like we just signed this entire team. Here's the 6 that you're used to.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I've been excited for, is seeing these announcements come out. So this is the first one, and I know I was really pumped to see it, and I like ran the whole gambit of emotions on it. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. How are they ever going to lose to? Wait a minute. Hold on, those two can't. Who's gonna?
Yeah, you're missing a couple of parts here,
right.
Bob.
And it's just a whole lot of fun to sit down and look at it and analyze it and break it down and try to figure out how all the pieces will fit together. Especially, I mean, the best part about it is that you're never right. Like, the most knowledgeable football people always think they have it figured out, and then the season starts and week 1 happens and everybody was wrong.
How often is Mel Kiper Jr. ever right about anything?
I mean, like maybe twice. I don't know. He only talks during the draft, so nobody ever fact checks his stuff because he doesn't talk during the regular season.
Exactly. But speaking of roster leaks and news, we brought back a fan requested segment of the show, and that's going to be the shame of the week.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Shame. Shame. So this is it's a kind of a complicated story, but so we got, okay, so first things first, we got an official video from Optic that says we've signed 2 players and a GM. No mention of the name. Okay, that happens. A few days later, we get an ESPN article that claims, quote, Optic Gaming have signed CoolMat69 and Muma to team FNRGFE as part of the as the first part of the Houston-based Overwatch League roster. Sources close to the players told ESPN. So on the one hand, they're saying, "Oh, this definitely happened," according to some people somewhere. Something, but it was posted as an article that the title of which is Cool Matt goes to Optic, basically. So obviously, like, I know that got posted in our Discord, and we're like, oh man, that's awesome. You know, we tagged Cool Matt and a bunch of things because he's in our Discord. Like, you know, congrats, man. And then I did a little bit of digging on Twitter and the Flame Cord, and it turns out that Cool Matt says he didn't sign anything. So what? That's where the shame bell originally comes in.
Yeah. And so Cool Matt has now publicly said on Discord servers, things like that, I have not signed a contract. I'm very close with one. I will be on an Overwatch League roster, essentially. Like, this is paraphrasing him. I'm not quoting him directly, but pen has not met paper. Nothing is official. I cannot say I'm part of Optic. I cannot say I'm part of any team right now because I'm not. And I saw that message with my own eyes. I did not see one from Flame, but I heard Flame basically said a very similar thing. Like, I have not signed a contract yet, so I cannot sit here and tell you that that's true.
Yeah.
And I think you specifically went to the author of the post, Jacob Wolf.
Jacob Wolf, right? From ESPN.
And
I
kind of
tweeted at him.
Yeah, showed him the message and said, "Hey, what's up?" And his response was like, "Sometimes players lie." It's like, what? Yeah. Are your sources that are close to the players better than the mouths of the players directly? Like, this is what bothers me about reporting in esports. And I have confidence when it's like the other sports, right? That everything is kind of on the up and up. And so I think the right thing to do here is, like, I don't know. I really expected a retraction from ESPN. Like, this or is not official. This is a clarification, right? Like, include in there, like, the players have denied it, but our sources remain adamant. Like, and it just wasn't really, I don't know. It just felt to me like it wasn't handled right. And I just wanted to see something, because right now it's like out there as a fact. And I'm not comfortable telling the people that listen to our podcast out there that it's true. Right. And I don't have any journalistic integrity. Like, I'm not a journalist. I'm just a loud guy that screams into his microphone for an hour every week. So I don't know. I just felt like this should have been handled better by ESPN. And yeah, I don't know. So right now we don't have anybody else for Optic to announce or anything like that, but we do just kind of have this awkward situation where listen, I would be very surprised if, because this news is out there, right? Like, I don't think the sources out there were lying to Jacob Wolf. I don't think Jacob Wolf was lying about what the sources told him. And I don't think Cool Matt's lying about not having signed a contract. Right. So I expect Cool Matt, Muma, and Flame to sign contracts with Optic. But I don't know. It's just awkward to me, like, until it's confirmed, right? Like, if the org won't say it and the players are denying it, and you can't tell us who any of the sources are, I'm not calling it news, and I won't call it news, and it's not news. Like, that's not how journalism works, to my understanding.
Right.
Oh, my understanding is pretty ignorant, to be fair. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I get it from the one point, like, you want to break the story, okay. But like, we could go out and tweet anything, and like, if ESPN picks up our story, like, that doesn't make it true.
We found Thornrain found the application for the trademark, and we're like, this right, and this was like as confirmable as anything I've ever seen in my life, and I'm still like wording the tweet like, I can't call this a fact. I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not an industry professional. I'm not a journalist. I don't have other sources. I have nobody to go to confirm this. Well, so I'm just like, could this be the first team name? Like, that's how I worded the tweet.
All I'm saying is that because you showed an ounce of journalistic integrity, you blew your chances of ever working for BuzzFeed. So I hope you're happy. BuzzFeed resume ruined. So just to break it down, like, I agree with you. I would not be surprised if everything in that article ends up being true. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think anyone necessarily lied at all in this. That's not what we're contesting here. What we're contesting is that it is portrayed in a potentially deceptive manner, where it like is worded in a way that makes you think it's confirmed, but it's actually not confirmed. And on top of that, the players are also saying specifically it's not confirmed. Now, the players might be forced to say that because it hasn't, the ink is not dry, and the terms of their contract make it so that they can't say. And instead of just being mum on it, they got sick of people tweeting them 1,000 times and being like, oh, hey, congratulations. For what it's worth, we were those people. But they just said, hey, I haven't signed anything, which is a true statement. But I might.
And for all I know, they could actually be like, the players could be under contract. Like, no, you will deny that you have signed a contract with us until it's announced. I don't know how contracts. I don't know what these contracts. I have no idea what these contracts look like. It could be completely true, but it just seems really weird to put it out there like a fact when the subject of the article is telling you it's false. Like, I just feel like some allowance needs to be made for that. And we wanted to make sure we brought it up to you guys, since it was something when we saw, like, as far as sports news goes, and esports is included, if I see the ESPN logo on it, like, it's got a certain amount of credibility to me. It's not so. And now I'd rather see Adam Schefter tweet it. I'd rather see Adam Schefter tweet it directly from his account than show up on an ESPN account. I trust that more. But now I don't. Now I don't know. I don't know what to do with ESPN's esports news.
Yeah, I have to read the article with a fine-tooth comb. I have to see like what anonymous sources are and like who these sources are, and like, I mean, for what it's worth, you should probably do that anyway with news articles. That's kind of how the whole like fake news thing started. But we're not going to go on a political tangent here. Like, I'm just not taking things from ESPN at face value, which I guess is probably a good thing. But all in all, I'm just gonna end it with
shame.
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 Shame bell.
Shame.
Ding ding ding. Yeah. So that's it. That's everything. We got through it all. All the non tournaments. We got through all the stuff that we were planning on going through.
Yeah, plenty to talk about. Like I said, we only had like one match play out in Apex, and we're still able to fill an episode. So I think this is a good sign for the episodes to come, because after next week, could not tell you guys what we're gonna do. I don't know.
I don't know when Apex starts, but we're gonna be clinging on to dear life for that tournament.
Yeah,
until Overwatch League preseason starts.
I will bet you we talk in depth about the conclusion of Apex. I also bet we look very closely at the APAC tournament that we talked about earlier. If you guys have any topics you want to hear discussed on the show, by all means send them to us. This is uncharted territory for us, for Overwatch, for most things. like, I don't know too many sports or games that have had active shows and content while leagues have been forming. Like, I'm sure it happened with LCS and things like that, but that even happened so long ago. Who knows? It's definitely uncharted territory for us. So by all means, feel free to help us out. Anything you want to hear discussed, talked about, any specific guests you want us to target for the hot seat, anything like that. We're always very, very open to feedback. You can check us out on our website, highnoonpodcast.com. You can get a link to the Discord server from there, where you can go into the show suggestions channel and leave us a note. So hope to see you guys in there. Decent little pro player roster in there. So
yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, some of them even talk. Like Leaf likes to talk in there a little bit. Fired some shots. I won't throw them under the bus for those shots, but they were appreciated and enjoyed. So that was a lot of fun and talked about last week. So, it was a good week, and I'm so excited for more of these rosters. Like, who's next? Give me more rosters, please. I want to look at them.
Yeah, I want, like, there's so much that could happen. Couple of last second things. Start date for the APAC tournament. Thank you to Thorn Rain is the 19th of October. Ooh. So couple weeks. I just looked. The Apex playoffs are going to be next week. So Monday and Thursday of next week they're going to be played. So we'll have stuff to talk about. Sure. We'll have contenders finals to talk about next week, and then the week after that we'll have some stuff. So it's not going to be completely barren in terms of tournaments. And next week, actually, we're going to be having Hexagrams on the show. So he will be coming back for the fourth time, I think. No, third or fourth.
Sounds right.
I think fourth.
Fourth sounds right.
He's definitely our number one in terms of number of times been on the show guest, but. That's going to be it, guys. Just stay tuned, man. This is what a great time to be in Overwatch esports.
The next installment of the Hexagrams movie corner.
Hexagrams movie night, yes.
Hex's movie night will be in full effect next week.
Get your popcorn out. See what he's been watching. We'll also probably talk about some 90s era baseball, Bartolo Colon and whatnot. But
also a certain victory that's going to happen.
We'll be going in depth about the Fenergifu win. But that's going to be it, guys. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Huge thanks to all the patrons. Remember, you guys can always support the show over at patreon.com/highnoonpodcast. Everything, of course, is over at highnoonpodcast.com. The YouTube, iTunes, all that good stuff. Oh, iTunes. Did we get...
We do have 2 iTunes reviews to read. Great catch.
Let's just do them. Let's get them. Fake outros all around.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a 5-star review here from Techno Freeride titled Changing the World One Podcast at a Time. So he's not overselling us at all in this review.
Just 100%
if you are in search of a podcast emphasizing the competitive Overwatch scene as well as general Overwatch news, this is your podcast. The hosts, The Blevins and Deathblow, have established great chemistry during their many podcasts together. I found High Noon about a year ago and have thoroughly enjoyed listening to it. Deathblow provides analysis from a high-skilled player perspective. All these words that he's using are very open to interpretation. The Blevin steers the show and provides excellent interviews with great Overwatch guests. Ace Smith provides those interviews.
Yes.
Big shout-outs to enjoying them nonetheless.
Here.
Got to make sure we get A. Smith all the love that we possibly can. I especially enjoyed the interviews with Jake from Team USA, Josh Kim from Immortals, Manny Anacall. I main Zenyatta and have found quality advice for the DPS Healing Omnic on High Noon. Shoutouts to Adam Hoek for the exit music. Although I do not like country music, I really enjoy his exit song. Take a moment out of your busy day and download this podcast. It will not disappoint you. Hashtag Pittsburgh one-way streets like the Blevins. I don't understand that hashtag, but they like you, so good job.
Woo!
The next one here is a 5-star review. Says awesome podcast by Haas Machine 6054. He's in the Discord server, so shout outs to you, Machine. Really appreciate the kind words. Says funny, and enlightening. Great interviews, in-depth analysis on the current competitive scene and professional play, and overall just a must listen to podcast for those interested in keeping up with everything Overwatch. Thank you so much, everybody, for the kind words. Anybody who wants to support the show and doesn't want to do it by Patreon, and trust me, we totally get that. This is the best way that you can support us. Leave us a 5-star review. and we will read it out on the show. So if you want me to say anything ridiculous, that is your time. If you want Blevins to say something ridiculous, that is going to take a patron.
That's true.
A patron.
But it'll only be $1. You can, the lowest amount you can donate will get, or that you can patron.
I don't know
will get
that's true. The buck gets your name read.
I
think it takes $3.
Okay, this week only. I will read
special, a Patreon special.
A Patreon special off the cuff. If you do a $1, I will read your message. Just link it to me in Discord. But that's actually going to be it, guys. I know Death has to go do practice and whatnot, and I've actually got another interview to do. We got a packed night tonight. But that's going to be it, guys. Huge thanks to all the patrons. Huge thanks to everyone, everywhere. A Smith, everything, everyone. All the time. Go to highnoonpodcast.com. And also huge shout outs to Adam Hoek for the awesome outro music, which you are about to hear. But guys, for Deathblow, I am the Blevins. Remember, it's High Noon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. He threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now, God's my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time till I find mine.
Giganti.